I have the pleasure of introducing our opening speaker, Lee R. Lambert. He's one of the founding figures of the PMP certification program, and he has been a volunteer for PMI for 48 years, as long as I've been alive. He was a past president of Central Ohio. He is a PMI fellow, one of only 70. And he's returning to the PMI Carolinas for the first time in 20 years since he's been here. So here we are. And just a side note, I heard he was bitten by a shark. So talk amongst yourselves. Where's the thing? We're going to find the video. It's not going down. Ooh. Go back. Yeah. Go down to the bottom. His video's at the bottom. So like the guy that does Lives of the Rich and Famous, we've got this.
So I started to do that, and I talked to a fellow at a conference once, and he said, I think you should be in project management. And I said, I know, what is that? And he said, well, I'll tell you, the thing about project management is that project managers don't do work. And I'm going, well, hell, that's the place I want to be.
Celebrating the legacy of a true pioneer in project management, Lee R. Lambert. As a founding figure of the Project Management Professional Certification Program, Lee set a standard of excellence that inspired countless professionals. Instrumental in its creation, he elevated project management standards globally. Lee received PMI's Professional Development Provider Award in 2007 for innovative learning programs. Recently named one of only 70 PMI fellows, his contributions are exceptional. An esteemed author, speaker, and educator, Lee's influence knows no bounds. Authoring 2 books and 32 professional papers, he's taught over 50,000 students in 23 countries. Contributing as a subject matter expert for PMI's Earned Value Management System practice standard, his impact is profound. Lee Lambert's legacy in project management is unparalleled. His standard will shape the profession for generations. Thank you, Lee Lambert, for your invaluable contributions.
And I'd like to ask Lee Lambert to come on up.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm going to stay down here. I'm a little afraid to go up there. I appreciate that video, so that I don't seem as egotistical as I probably am, was made as a gift for me in Saudi Arabia. I helped them found what's now the largest project management gathering in the world. Last year we had 15,000. We'll probably hit 20,000 this year. So they did that kind of as a special thing. So I appreciate the fact that they've recorded that and made it available to you, because I've forgotten most of the things that they talked about. But let me give you a little bit of background. First of all, let's get the health stuff out of the way. I'm 80 years old, and I've probably got maybe 2-3 years left. I had gallbladder surgery. They found kidney cancer. They took that out. I had to fix my shoulder. I was in somewhere in Europe, I forget, and I came down with a little infection in my leg. Turned out it was not a little infection at all. It was a big infection. No? I was in Romania, and my middle toe was black, which I knew right away that was probably not correct. And so I went. They said you better go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital in Romania. They had a specialty guy in diabetes. I'm diabetic, have been for 40 years, and he looked at it. He didn't really look very long, and he said that's got to come off. And I said, what do you mean, come off? He said, your leg has got to go. Because if you don't get it soon, it's going to go all the way up, and you're going to lose your whole leg. He said, I'll just take it off, mid-calf. I said, oh, just take it off. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I said, I got a speech in 2 days that I got to give. What's the recovery time? He said, well, it'll be more than 2 days. And I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to wait and do it in the States when I get back. So I went to my next assignment, gave my speech, and they rushed me in an airplane to my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. And about 12 hours later, I had no leg. I mean, it was, what the hell? I had two. So the PMI people, I don't work for PMI, but I work for PMI. And they said, well, you're going to be 6 months. And I'm scheduled usually every week. I have sometimes two things. And they said, be about 6 months. And this was October 15th, 2 years ago. And I said, no, that's too long a recovery. I got to be in Sweden right after the holiday. And they said, well, you're going to be out for 6 months. So I was in Sweden, and it worked out fine. I've not had any trouble with recovery. I do have a couple of issues. One that is, it can be embarrassing, it can be damaging, but I fall a lot. I just did my 50th anniversary for my chapter in Ohio, and on my way to the thing, I happened to fall down on a tile floor and crack my head open, and all kinds of medical people, and oh my God, it was a big deal. It just bled a lot, didn't hurt me. So if I fall, don't panic. It's not unusual. If you can help me up, that'd be good. That makes it a little faster. But I was warned ahead of time that the one issue I'll have will be balance. It turns out when you don't have a leg, your balance is not so hot. So I have to be a little bit careful. If I try to move too fast, I'll fall down. So don't have me run, okay? All right, let me tell you what I do here. I'm a zealot. There's no question about that. I'm a zealot about project management. It's transformed my life completely. So I tell everybody and anybody that'll listen the power of project management. And so today I'm going to give you a little background of how I have moved from where I was to where I am now, with the idea that I want you to think about the fact that if that's what you want to do, do it. Don't wait, do it. So I'll give you a little background. I'm from Provo, Utah is my hometown. I moved from Provo, Utah after I got married. I got married quite young. My wife was 3 days out of high school when we got married. She was 17, and she wasn't. And so we got married at 17. I was much older. I was 19. And so we started our life together. We grew up together. She passed away 5 years ago, unfortunately. But we learned a lot about a lot of things, and people were the primary thing. What I found out is it doesn't really matter if you have a Gantt chart or if you have a work breakdown. None of that really matters. At the end of the day, it's the people that you interact with, the people that help you get jobs done. So don't get hung up on procedures and policies. Get hung up on motivating and inspiring people to do things. So I started my career as I think they called me an engineering designer, which meant a flunky that went to 1 year of technical school, okay? So it sounded better to say engineering designer. So I went to work for a company called Chicago Bridge and Iron. And that was my very first clue that things don't always mean what they sound like they mean. The business was in Salt Lake City, not Chicago. They never did a bridge in their entire career, and they didn't work with iron at all. So I really didn't have anything going for me. So what I learned was find the smartest guy in the room and then suck his brain, okay? That's why mentorship has finally come around. I've been mentoring since '66 because I don't have time to learn what you learned in 5 years. I can learn it in 2 hours if you'll just take some time. So now I'm like a mentor. I get so many questions, I have to make up answers. But I think it's important that we do that. But I realized right away this wasn't me, because what I decided was, first of all, I went to see a counselor, okay? Because I was young, I don't want to make any mistakes here. And so I went to see a counselor about my future. And so this lady had come highly recommended. So I called her and asked about coming to see her. She said, yeah, well, of course you can. I'm doing a lot of that kind of counseling right now, job placement stuff. She said, I'll be happy to take you. And I said, great. I said, when can we start? She said, well, I got opening in 6 months. 6 months? I was thinking this afternoon. What do you mean 6 months? She said, I'm very, very busy. She said, but if you want to come in, we can see what you got. So I said, okay, let me do that. So I went in, and the first thing she asked me, and I should have known she was going to be a problem. The first thing she asked me was, what are your objectives? What are my objectives? I thought that's what you did. She said, no. She said, no, you come with objectives, and I'll show you how to find your way to what you want to be when you grow up. I said, well, hell, I don't have any objectives. I thought you did that. No, she said, you're going to have to reschedule. I said, I already waited 6 months. I'm not going to reschedule. And she said, well, I can't. Look, she said, I said, well, while we've been talking, a couple things have come to mind that we could consider to be objectives. And she said, well, okay, I'll listen, but I can't promise you much. She said, what do you got? And I said, well, I have two that came quickly. I said, the first one is a little unusual, but I think you'll understand. The first one is, I don't want to work. And she goes, wait, she said, not at all? And I said, well, I'll do some of that if I have to, but I prefer not to. She said, okay. She said, looking at my information, she said, okay, I can see why you might want to take a break. She said, but you said you had two. What's the second one? I said, well, the second one's really going to bug the heck out of you. The second one is, I want to make a hell of a lot of money. And she said, wait a minute, let's recap. Now, you know, if you ever go to a psychologist, they say, let's recap. You stumped them. They're buying time, okay? So I knew what she was doing. So she said, let's recap. She said, now, on one hand, you don't want to work. I said, that's correct. And on the other hand, you want to make a lot of money. I said, damn, you are good. That's almost exactly what I said. And I said, you got any ideas? And she said, have you thought about project management training? It's working. It's working. Best advice I ever got. I stopped working in '84 to do training. Right after we issued the PMP in September of '84, I quit my corporate position, which was a vice president, staff and organization development, a natural for a flunky out of tech school. And so I quit my job and started teaching. The Metrolina chapter was one of the first chapters I taught. I created something called PDUs for pennies. Are any of you familiar with that? I mean, I don't say, oh yeah, a few, good. So that's the way it all started. Well, in the interim, I worked at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory on nuclear bombs. This was back in the 60s. They were still doing underground testing. And so I was designing downhole apparatus to hold the nuclear device. I was doing that for about 2 years. And then my wife said, you know, this is kind of dangerous, working around bombs and stuff. And I said, okay, well, they've got another job that's open. Maybe I can get that. She says, what is it? I said, well, I don't know, but it's out about 20 miles out in the desert. This is in Richland, Washington area. And if you've ever been to Tri-Cities in Washington, don't bother. It's the Las Vegas without casinos. Not a pretty place. So I looked into it. They said, yeah, if you were just opening that job. I said, I'll take it. I think that sounds great. So the first day, first I asked, what's the job? And they said, well, it's not really difficult, but what you're going to do is you're going to do thermocouple routing on a high explosive to look at heat transfer across the explosive when it blows for further use in nuclear testing. I said, oh, that sounds cool. That sounds pretty cool. I'll do that. So I went out there, and it took a long time to get out there. It was a pretty rough area, and no cars around. I mean, I had the place to myself. And so I did that for the first day, and it was a pretty good-sized HE, high explosive. And so I got those on there that day. I was very happy with myself. And I went home and told Carolyn, I said, this is really a nice job. And she said, Lee, do you understand this is a one-mistake job? So I changed jobs and went into nuclear reactors. And that's where I spent the rest of my working career, is in the nuclear field. I worked on boiling water reactors, pressurized water reactors, and then my last job was the Clinch River breeder reactor, which produces more fuel than it uses. Now people always go, wait a minute, that's not that perpetual motion machine. Here's the way it works. The byproduct of breeder technology is fuel for boiling water and pressurized water reactors. So it literally produces more fuel than it uses, okay? Now there's a side note that's a little bit challenging with this, and that is that the outcome is weapons-grade plutonium. So a lot of people aren't excited about that. One of those is a guy named Carter, Jimmy Carter. He's a nuclear engineer by training, and he realized the danger associated with weapons-grade plutonium, and so he proceeded. We knew if he got elected, they were going to kill the Clinch River job. Well, he got elected. They killed the Clinch River job. But I always think ahead, so I knew what was coming. So I quit General Electric and moved on. And it was 7 years till they finally actually closed the door. But in the meantime, I got a job with Battelle Memorial Institute, not Mattel, Battelle. It's the largest contract research organization in the world. And so I figured, look, I can get a job in research. Nobody will know if you're doing any good or not. You just take time, years, do whatever you do. So I did that, except the problem was I had really decided that, because I am anti-work, I'm not going to fool around about that, and I had decided that what I want to do is something to do with people, so that my value add will be converting losers like me into effective workers. So I've been spending most of my life mentoring, coaching, doing those kinds of things. And so I was a little bit concerned about going out on my own. I was very comfortable where I was, but I got thinking that it's risky to do training. If you're not, a lot of people don't believe this, but I'm a severe introvert, big time. And what I found out was as I was thinking about, hey, maybe training's the way to go. What I found out is when you train, there's a lot of people involved. And for an introvert, this is not a good thing. And I'm thinking, damn, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. But what I learned was you don't make a lot of money teaching in an empty room. And so I transitioned from introvert to serious extrovert. Except when I walk through those doors right there, I'll be an introvert again. So any of you that come up to me, want to go have lunch, or get out of my face, okay? I already did my thing. And so my wife used to attend once until she got sick of it. She used to attend, and after I'd stand by the door, don't go through the door, stand in front of the door, and everybody coming up to, oh God, that was awesome, I love what you did. Mostly ladies, I'm big on ladies, and they come in, and she's sitting in the back watching all that. So we get out, and I get ready to leave, and she goes, why don't I get any of that? Why don't I get any of that? Because she knows as soon as I walk through those doors, there's no talking. It's over. And I said, well, I'll tell you the truth. I left it all in there. I think I make a difference in the world. I think that the result of what I do, people say, well, you don't do anything. I said, that's correct. I do it well. And so I think that the output is such that if you listen to me, if you follow my suggestions, you'll improve. Now the problem is, well, it's not a problem, the opportunities are literally unlimited in project management. People think of project management as schedules and budgets. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. The skills that you learn as a project manager are applicable in almost every area of business. And more people are realizing that. They're taking project management training without really the intent of being a project manager. It's all about communication. It's all about understanding the people that you're working with and then understanding how you can help them achieve what they want to achieve. So in my case, I usually ask the same question the damn counselor asked me is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And about 70% of the people have no clue. No clue whatsoever. And so I try to point out to them, if you don't know what you're going to be when you grow up, you're going to take a long time to get it because it's going to be by mistake. It's just being like typical research. Try it, doesn't work, try something else, try something else. And so you end up wandering around. A lot of you are doing it right now. Just wandering around. What am I going to do now? Where's the want ads? Let me see what's out there. Oh, I never qualified for that. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. When I went to the research organization, I'm not joking about, I now have a master's from George Washington, but I didn't then. And I had 1 year of college. I was up against 2 master's degrees and a PhD. And I ate them alive. And the reason I ate them alive is that I had people orientation. They had technical skills. They weren't after technical skills. In fact, I was credited with starting the first PMO in 1977 at this research organization. I don't know if it's valid or not, but it's in a book, so I claim it is. And I went there with myself. I went there to start a PMO. I went there with myself and a secretary. That was it. That's what we started. 3 years later, I had 39 staff people going out and working with researchers because they didn't know what the hell they were doing to learn how to do project management. And as soon as they realized, if I do this well, I'll actually have more time to do good research. And once that clicked, they became great project managers. One of the highest people in the U.S. government in geology took my place when I left. She was a geologist. When she applied for my job, nobody could figure it out. She's like one of the world's renowned geologists. And she applied for my job. Nobody could figure it out. I got talking to her. That's what it was all about for her. She just didn't want to stay in geology. And so I looked her up the other day. I haven't talked. Robin Madison's her name. I haven't talked to her for a long time. But she's big stuff. She's really big stuff. So I reminded her who I was. So I start to see that go all the time. And people who really understand project management understand it's a lot bigger than a management system. It's internalized. It has to be something that's internalized. Now, for those of you who don't like people, it's a problem. It's a problem. But I got to tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But don't talk to me outside about it. So I want you to understand. So here's what's happened. About 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to travel. I hadn't done much traveling as a young guy. And of course my wife was alive then, and then the next year she passed, so that freed me up to do a lot of traveling. And so I started traveling. It's all by invitation. I don't pay a nickel, okay? I don't pay a nickel. If people want me, they invite me. I tell them how much it is, they uninvite me. No, and that's the way I get speaking. Like I just came back from Istanbul and Tunisia. Before that, I was in Brazil, all over the world. And what I've done all over the world is make friends that share my opinion of what it takes to be successful. I think people unfortunately, get locked into jobs thinking that's all I can do. That's really the best I can do. It's not the best you can do. I was a vice president with no education of a highly organized R&D organization. Because at the end of the day, good managers, which you'll have some, recognize performance. They recognize value add. And there are a lot of people that don't like me, but they like what I do. And that's all that matters. This is no damn popularity contest. We're trying to get things accomplished. So when you go to these programs, I was just in my program, my 50th anniversary in Ohio. And the sidetracks, that you got 3 of them here, I think. The sidetracks are where the goodness is. You don't listen to keynote speakers to learn anything. You listen to them to mold your memory to what's important. And if you don't do that, then you'll just sit and nod your head. I see somebody nodding your head. And if I ask you after, you say, well, hell, I don't know what he said. So you've got to pay attention, and then you've got to translate that to your particular situation, okay? In order to do that, you have to give some serious thought. You have so many variables. You have children, you have mortgage payments, you got BMWs, you got Lotuses, you got Lamborghinis, you'll have all those, right? And so it starts out that way. But let me give you, I've created a hierarchy. If you're going to be successful, you have to create stuff. My library at my home is 300 books. I have 300 books. I've read 3 of them. Because what I found with books, especially project management books, they're all the same. There's nothing new. There's been nothing new in this business. Now AI, oh God, AI, that's not new. That's been around a long time. We've just automated it, okay? So what I've learned is that all I have to know is the basics, because the human mind is smart enough to understand common sense. And that's what gets left out. Common sense isn't common in project management. We're too busy following process and protocols and procedures to think. And if you want to get things done fast, I tested myself on this. I don't say things I can't prove. I had, as a first consultant job, I had a job with a company called Behringer Mannheim, owned by a German family in Mannheim, and it was a blood glucose monitor for diabetics, okay? And they had 72% market share at the time. They'd been beaten badly by Johnson & Johnson. So my job was to create a new product better than Johnson & Johnson's in 3 years or less, okay? And it was a $1 billion company. And the theory was, at least the marketing guys said this, if we don't have this done by 3 years, we're going to be out of business, okay? Out of business. That's not a tiny company, $1 billion. And so they interviewed about 7 or 8 people for the job, and most of them were geniuses in terms of understanding that ain't going to happen. So they passed. Well, so I was the last guy they interviewed, and it was kind of a favor too. One of their people was a PMI member in Milwaukee, and I'd met him there. So I came in for the interview, and the guy that was interviewing me was a DuPont turnaround specialist that had been brought in to save the company. 6'8", 350 pounds, and he hated people. Hated people. Made it very clear. In fact, we had a little saying that if you've actually met Jack, that's because he fired you. That's the way he was. Okay, so I know it's going to be a tough negotiation. So he said, "What do you think? Do you think you can do this or not in that amount of time?" I said, "Well, I'll tell you the truth, Jack. If you give me what I think I need to be effective, yes, I think I can do it." He said, "Okay, what do you want?" I mean, he knew it was a big deal. "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I have 3 things. First of all, this will bother you probably more than anyone. First of all, I want all the money." He said, what do you mean, all the money? I said, "I want all the money. If I have to buy something, I have to do something that costs money. I don't want to have to go to anybody for approval. I want all the money." I thought, well, that's the end of this negotiation. But he said, "Oh, okay." Just like that, okay. He said, I was a little bit stunned. And he said, "Well, what else you got?" I said, "Well, I want to hand pick," we had estimated about 200 people. "I want to hand pick the team that will be responsible for this project." He said, "What do you mean hand pick? You don't even know these people. You just walked in. I said, No, I'm going to interview them. I'm going to interview the people, and then I want to be able to pick the people, and they're going to work for me. None of this matrix crap, none of this assignment stuff, they work for me." And he said, "Okay." I'm thinking airplane, car, I'm going for the... And so he said, "What else you got?" And I said, "Well, this is the tough one." I said, "I want the team to be co-located." He said, "Co-located?" I don't understand co-located. I said, "Together. They're all going to be together." And he said, almost immediately, he said, I can't do that." I said, "Well, you can't do that." He said, "The people you need are scattered in 11 buildings across this campus, and you want to put them all together." He said, I just can't do that. And I said, "Wow, that's too bad. We were really close." So I walked over to his window, looked across this little lake, and there's a brand new building over there across the lake. And I said, "What's that building?" He said, "That's our new R&D building." He said, "We're staffing that out of Mannheim. They're starting to show up now to take that over. They're going to do all the R&D work there." I said, "That is a nice building. That's really, that would be, if I were to get a building, that would be the building I'd like to have." He said, "Well, I can't do that. The head guy from Mannheim would never accept that." I said, "Okay, well, listen, we got close, but I can't do it. I'm not going to risk my career on a job that I know will probably fail. Now, if you give me everything..." Now, he's a very smart guy, and I realized that later. He called my bluff later on because he called me on Monday morning and said, you can have the building." And as soon as he did that, you see what he did? He transferred all the responsibility and accountability to me. "Hey, look, I gave you everything you wanted, and you still failed." So it was a very testy situation. So I took the job. I organized the team. We did our thing, and it was a very technical job. And we finished in 18 months. 18 months, okay? And Jack goes, "How'd you do that?" I said, "Well, if I tell you, then you'll be out telling everybody else." So how we did it was that I got in their heads, okay, that's one of the things I do well. I got in their heads. My team of 200, actually it's 205, worked average 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 months. And I never once asked them to work overtime. It was basically driven by, that's what I've been asked to do, that's what I'm going to do, and I did it. So 18 months, I mean, nobody ever heard of it. It's been written up, it's in a magazine. Could you do it again? I said, well, I couldn't do it again with those people, because I've already, I mean, they might sucker for this once, but not twice. But I said, you give me a fresh group of people, yes, I think I can replicate it, okay? And so it turns out that I'm diabetic, by the way. I wasn't when I was, well, no, I guess not. I used the meter that I designed. I just said this to a hospital 2 days ago. I was in there for, I don't know what, nothing important. And they said, oh, we got to do your vitals. I said, is that an AccuCheck? He said, yeah. I said, that's my job. I said, I managed that job. No, you didn't. I said, yeah, I did. And so this product turned the market back around. So we got all of our market share we lost plus some. And in 3 years, it was 1997. You can look it up in the book if you like. Roche Labs acquired this little $1 billion company in Indianapolis, Indiana, for $11 billion. $11 billion. I didn't get a damn nickel. Nothing. And so I've been kind of following it to see. It's sort of one of those situations where if somebody like Roche Labs invests in that product, probably a good idea to take a look at it. So I've been tracking them. I just noticed last week they just authorized a $550 million expansion of the Indiana facility. Their profits have gone up at such a rapid rate that they can't produce enough product. I think that's going to continue to be. If you do your research, you find out that diabetic rates are going vertical. Well, you got to have those. Nobody wants to go to the hospital every time. So you prick your finger 5 times a day. This is the fun part. 5 times a day to check your blood. And if your blood's high or low, you act accordingly. And so if you take 5 times a day times a month times the rate of per strip, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because I know the pricing because I created the pricing on one of them. And the profit margins, they say, are the largest profit margins of any Roche product. That's pretty impressive. They got a few products. So I want to leave you with that idea that you don't have to be the smartest kid in the block. You just have to be wise. There's a difference between intelligence and wise, and I think that's part of the thing. Now, Jack is passed, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your view. He is passed. But before he passed, we had a thing where he wanted to provide the team a bonus pool of $5 million if we finished in 3 years or less. We'll divide it up between the 205 people. And he said, "What do you think about that, Lee?" And I said, "I think that's the dumbest idea I ever heard." He said, "What do you mean dumbest idea? It's $5 million." I said, "Yeah, but what you're going to be doing is you're going to be prostituting these people. You're going to say to them, I know you're good, you've been with the company a long time, but clearly you're not doing as much as you can do." Well, you don't want to piss off a researcher. And so I said, well, I'll take it to him. It's not I'll take it to him for a vote. But just recognize that it may be no. So I did that. We talked for about 2 hours through the whole process, and all but 7 people voted against the bonus pool. Nobody could believe that. My wife couldn't believe it. She was angry. She had already divided up her piece. And so I went back and told him, I said, what they told me was, if you want to provide something instantaneously when we're successful, okay, but don't hold that carrot. I learned that at GE. Don't hold that carrot out in front of me and then move it as I get closer. But if you want to do something spontaneous, we're all for it. So at the end of that project, within 2 days, he came into the group and he said, I just want you to know, I'm a man of my word. He said, I'm going to send the entire team and their significant other to Hawaii for 2 weeks on me. Nobody bitched about that. And I told him afterwards, I said, Jack, you understand, you just got away with probably $4 million savings, because it's not going to cost $5 million to send 200 people for 2 weeks, no. So we learned so much from that. And what I learned, that I continue to say, I don't think the human mind has a limit. I think we can do whatever we decide to do. All project management does is help you with the clarity of what it is that needs to be done. It's not brain surgery. And as long as you take that approach, as long as you understand that, you'll be okay. How am I doing on time?
You got like 10, 15 minutes?
Got another day? Okay. So I finished that up, and then from that point on, once the magazine got published, I just had another cover story published. I really have smoked the PR people. They really think I'm special. It's awesome, and so anybody can do it. But some people are satisfied just doing what they do. I don't want you to change that. But if you're not satisfied doing what you do, find out what you are satisfied about, and do it. Do it. It's not that difficult. And as long as you build your people skills, your communication skills, I think most of it's about communication, or lack thereof. So I think you need to understand that as much as possible. I'm on the anniversary tour the last couple of months. I've done 3 chapters with 40, one with 35, mine with 50, another one with 30. And they all look just like you. Well, smarter than this group over here, but they all look like you. And they're all looking for that silver bullet. They're all looking for that. What can I do to get me where I want to go? It's all up to you. It's all up to you. If anybody, well, I know my high school buddies predicted where I'd be. And it's something to do with bars, I know that. So you don't know. And I didn't make that recognition until I got married and found out, hell, I can't do everything my way anymore. And so that was a real learning experience for me. But you have to also make sure that what you are proposing is realistic. In other words, don't say, well, I think you can be the president of the company. Well, that's maybe, but let's start a little bit lower and see if we can work our way up. And I think it's important to do that. Now, the only office I've ever held in PMI is president of the chapter in Central Ohio. I moved there in '81. It's one of only 4 that have 50 years. I moved there in '81 to help start a project management division. Okay, and so I went to my CEO and said, you know, this PMI thing, because I had joined in '78, I said, this PMI thing might be a real advantage from a marketing standpoint. If our people are certified, we didn't have anything called certified then. If they're professionals, that'll give us a leg up on the competition, because everything's competitive in the U.S. government. And so he said, that's right. He said, well, what do we do? And I said, well, we need to get this chapter going. It turns out the chapter was, the membership of the chapter at that time was 3. It was a really small chapter. And so I said, well, we might have a little bit of a problem. He said, do whatever you have to do. Do whatever you have to do. Now remember, he's not doing that for me. He's doing it for him. I know this guy. I got him fired later. So I said, okay. So I went out and started marketing the PMI thing. And at the end of 1 month, we had 103 members. That's not as impressive when I tell you that 100 of them worked for me. So they were easier to recruit than the others. That chapter now has 1,800. It's a very, very vibrant chapter, working well. But I served as president, and what I learned as president is you don't want to be president. For one thing, it becomes a political. It becomes who do you suck up to? Who are you nice to? It's okay if you like doing that, but I'd rather do things that have tangible results. And so that was the only time I've ever done that. I did run for political office once when I think Gerald Ford was on the ballot. No, I didn't run against Gerald Ford. I was on a local thing. And I lost that too, so hell, I'm not doing that anymore. But you've got to understand, you have in your hands the ability to do what you want to do. If you want to travel, hey, I got thousands and thousands of miles. People ask me, well, you got a lot of, I said, God, mileage running out my ears. So what are you going to do with it? I say, I'll take a trip. Just take a little trip, that's all. You can do whatever you want to do. And the reason I enjoy it is because of those people that raised their hands when I asked earlier, you'll never forget me. There's no question in my mind about that, because if I say anything that registers with you, you'll remember where that came from. You'll remember where that came from. And once you've heard me speak, you have a lifelong resource. I'm reachable. I take calls all the time, sometimes stupid calls. But I take them all the time, because you even have to make stupid people feel good about it. And so you'll have that ability to contact. I know PMI inside out, upside down. We've almost doubled our number of paid staff from 375 to 700 and some. So we finally staffed it right. We got a new CEO, a little guy like that, Pierre Lemont. Yeah, say it right. Pierre Lemont. Yeah, he's a little guy. So he's back on the trail. He got sick in Southeast Asia, but he's back on the trail now. He's the first directing person we've had, actually, that I can recall that's any good. I mean, he's got a plan. He's executing the plan. He's got support within the organization. And so he's one of those guys that knows what he wants, and by golly, he's going to go get it. The only thing we ever had close was a guy named Kent Crawford was the president of PMI, and we used to have a voted president and then a director that ran things, and that was Debbie. So it was Kent and Debbie. They've been married about 20 years now, and they found a very close relationship. So we try not to do that anymore. But the people are looking for the answer. I mean, some of you are here for PDUs, okay? I understand that. That's why I invented PDUs for pennies. But I got to tell you right now, I hope no PMI doesn't matter, but if you are paying for PDUs, wake the hell up. I've never paid for a PDU in my life. PMI has learning opportunities on the website that are better than any I've encountered. When AI first came out, they got 4 classes now in AI. I took them all because I didn't know how to spell it. And so I looked at that, and sure enough, I can have a conversation now about AI. I'm not going to be an AI professional, but I can talk to one. PMI is loaded with training like that. Free! So don't pay for PDUs. Pay for your opportunity to improve your position. And don't just take things that are targeted at your position. Broaden your thinking. One of the things that a very respected guy I know said to me, he said, what you have to do is read. Read, 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 and don't just read project management stuff. Read what the rest of the world's doing. And you could just watch your news on your phone and increase your intelligence by a factor of 5. So those things that you learn, you may not find that application until 3 years later. And then it's going to come back to you. Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that. And then what happens is you start to look smart. You're not, but you start to look smart. And people start to recognize that, and new opportunities open up. It's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. So I just want to leave you with that idea that there is no limit. There literally is no limit. The only limiting factor might be your frustration and how long it takes to achieve something. But that's where the focus comes in. You've got to stay focused on what your objectives are. All right, I'm going to take some questions if there are, and I'll be happy to. Oh, yeah, sure. Any questions?
About 15 minutes for questions. We've got a couple mic runners, so we've got somebody
Yeah,
here.
we got one right here. Do you realize I just went through this whole presentation and didn't even mention PMP? And that's my claim to fame, so don't forget PMP. Yeah.
So I'm not as much a question as just a comment to add on to something that you'd said earlier. So introvert versus extrovert. I don't know how many of you in here are like me. I am an introvert as well, potential hermit. And what I've found is project management gives you a structured way of dealing with people.
Yep.
So it actually has been, in my career, it's been a little bit of a crutch. When I've been in uncomfortable situations, I've had training because of the project management skills that you have to have. So what you were saying about, I totally agree with it. I don't know anybody else, in here, potential hermits, that project management in some ways saved me because it gave me a way to engage with people that was safe and comfortable.
Good point. Thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. Yeah, you've got to remember that one of the reasons we have training, I mean, maybe I'm out to the field on this, but one of the reasons we have training is so that we can learn some stuff. And in this case, learn how to transition from introvert to what's needed with that particular person. So whenever you take a training, don't just go, oh, that was fun, go on to the next training. Think about, how can I apply this? How can I apply what I've just learned? That's why people look carefully at the directions on what's being offered, because they try to pick what they think is going to help them become better. All right, we got another question here.
Thank you, Haley. Thanks so much for gracing us with your presence. I'm curious to know, there's been a huge shift in the way we work these days from how probably you and I worked way in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about, I know that the millennials, the Gen Zs, are very high tech and they do a lot of virtual work, mm-hmm. which can exacerbate the ability to have that in-person contact, and you have to be extra with the communication in those situations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was almost to cry. One of the things that PMI is really emphasizing right now, it hits right to the point you have, is adaptability. Because you see, project management moves at a very fast rate. And about every 4 years, there's a new shiny thing. And we all gravitate to the shiny thing, and then we realize it's a piece of crap, and we go back to something else. So the big issue is the virtual side. But there's a lot of lot of opportunities to catch up with people who've maximized that virtual. I have a problem with it myself. I don't like to teach virtual, let alone have it be my mode of operation. But you have to do it because that's where the industry's going. And it's going to go there faster and faster until the next new shiny thing comes. So I think adaptability, in fact, I think that Pierre Lemon emphasizes adaptability and empathy, those two things, very strongly. So I think, unfortunately, it's like, yeah, that's the way it is. But there are books out that give you some clues on how to do that. I avoid it because I can avoid it. But yes, anything else? Oh, over here? Do you have a mic? Did you give a mic? Oh, you gave it back already.
My friend and brother.
Yes, man. What's up, bud?
You know, we go back like lawn chairs.
Damn. When are you going to start dressing well?
I'm happy slumming around, man. It's been an honor to work with you over the years, and I have a question for you. I'm a big AI advocate. Also, obviously, been serving globally like you have over the past couple decades or so. Where do you see project management maybe in another 20 years, given the heavy, heavy influence of AI? And Dr. Dawn, good question.
Yeah, that's a good question, Neil. I've been contemplating this for a while, and what I believe to be the case is that the future is extremely bright for project management. I think more and more people are beginning to learn that these project management people know what the hell they're doing. And with AI capability, we're going to speed up what we're doing. And so I think the future is really bright for project managers. I think anybody that falls out is because they didn't embrace the new topic. I tell people with AI, when it first came out, everybody's panicked, going to lose their job. What I tell people is you'll never lose your job to AI. Now, if you lose your job, it'll be because someone else embraced AI and learned how to use it. Then you'll lose your job, but that's not AI's fault, that's your fault. So I think that's what we're in right now. There's some AI naysayers that think if they wait long enough, it'll go away, because that's been typical of project management. But I don't think it is. I think it's here to stay.
It's like the horse and buggy, it's not coming back.
Yeah, right. All right, anything else? Okay, what you got?
What's your most valuable mistake?
Say that again?
What's your most valuable mistake?
Wow, that's... Most valuable mistake. Probably accepting a role as the PR guy for a $300 million project looking at 6 geologic sites around the United States to determine where we're going to bury nuclear waste. And so I had to represent to Indian tribes, to God, you name it. And I got to convince them all, no, it's okay. It's got a half-life of 1,000 years, but don't worry about it. It'll be okay. And so we had to do that. Well, we did that project, and it took about 3 years. We made a recommendation. We already knew. That's the other thing I hate to say now, but it's long enough ago. We already knew before we even did the 5 studies where we were going to put it. So the son of a gun, our recommend was the Nevada test site. I mean, they've been doing stuff with radioactivity out there for years. I mean, all those little guys they got in a cage, those are all radioactive people. And so it was voted down. They put it on a ballot and it was voted down. So that was in 1987. We still don't have a place to put the nuclear waste. They're now beginning to shut down nuclear reactors because they have no place to put the waste. That means your utility rates are going to go up. Nuclear reactors provide a lot of energy. And so that's, it's just being disregarded. Nobody's really paying any attention to it. And so almost all the reactors, all their space is taken, and they're trying to look for alternate space. But it's real hard to get somebody to let anything in their backyard when it's got a half-life of, X amount of rims per. So we don't know what's going to happen. The good news for me I'll be dead. So it really doesn't matter. I don't care where they put it. They can put it in your yard. I don't care. So we have to understand that. Okay? Yeah. Anything else?
Yes. I was going to ask, you talked about your knowledge of the PMI organization. At its current state, what things do you think PMI does very well, and what areas do you think the PMI organization can improve and better themselves with?
Yeah, that's a tough question because the improvement has been so amazing over the past 2 years when Pierre came in. I think they still have an image, which is not necessarily true, but they still have an image that they're money-driven. Back in the older days, they were. Everything they did cost money. I used to joke about it all the time. God, everything you do with PMI costs money. That's not that way anymore. Almost everything they do now is free. And they take all the money they've got and pour it into research. And if you look at some of the research studies that they print on the website, if you're not using the website, you're crazy, because a lot of good stuff in there. They print a lot of information that says, this is the future, this is where we're going. And as long as Pierre's in that position, I think we'll be okay. We've had some real losers in that spot. So it was a breath of fresh air when he came in. Anything else?
Yeah, last one. Hi, can you hear me? Mainly, like, we are focusing on AI right now. Couple of years back, like, it was metaverse. Now it is AI. Will it hit a plateau? Like, how do we predict that it will hit a plateau? When it will hit a plateau? Currently, we are all focusing on the AI. So how do we predict that?
So what do you want me to predict?
So when do we, like, it's for me to, like, my kids when they grow up, whether what they should learn, like, so.
Yeah, well, that's something you said keyed this interest. Our 10 and 12-year-olds already know more about AI than we do. And they can sit down and start running things right away. It's unbelievable. These little brats know. It's unbelievable. They don't come home and do schoolwork. They come home and play with their damn machine. And that's not all bad. But I think that what we have to do, and I've not done it because I don't plan to be an AI specialist, is we gotta start using it. We gotta look at our project plan, for example. How can I create an integrated logic network schedule using AI? How can I stack up the reporting so that it sums everything vertically, sums everything horizontally, and it does it in milliseconds? I've done some tests of things that would take me a day, day and a half, 15 seconds. Do any of you post on LinkedIn? Yeah, a few. Okay, that's a big mistake that I'm posting. You learn a lot. I have 100,000 connections. And I post 3 to 4 times a day. And I only post things that have interest or controversy. I love to stir controversy. And so I write these. I used to be a sports writer down in the Bay Area. So I'm a writer. I know how to write. And so I post about 3 or 4 times a day. And write all my own posts. I keep them brief, but I keep them to the point. And about 2 months ago, Pierre stopped me and said, "I see you're posting a lot. It bothers him." And I said, "I am." He says, "Well, are you using AI to do that?" I said, "No, Pierre. I'm a writer. I want it to say what I want it to say." He said, "Okay, but I think you're making a mistake. I think you should try that." So about a month later, I had 4 to do that day. I did them. I wrote all 4. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to call his bluff. So I took 2 of them and said, rewrite with AI. If you do any posting, right down in the lower left-hand corner, it says, you want to rewrite this with AI? So I hadn't done it. Well, I did. I wrote those 2, okay? And it took, I counted the time because I didn't want to waste a lot of time. One took 4 seconds, the other took 6. Seconds, not minutes, not hours, seconds. And so I read them. I read them. I compared them. Damn, they were so much better than mine. It was sad. I mean, I hate to admit it, but they were awesome. And the one reason I do, and I still now rewrite about half, because it does digest your style. so people know it's you. So I'm okay with that. But what I find is that I love their verbiage. I love their vocabulary. They're used. I spend more time looking up words when they write than I do anything else. But it makes it look professional. You know, it makes it look professional. And so I still do that to this day. I do 2. If I do 4, I do 2 and 2. And then don't forget, when you do that, the one thing it asks you is check it. Check for quality. Is this saying what you want it to say? So you're not bound to that once you rewrite. In fact, now you can hit a button, it'll put yours back on, yours back on. But always check it, because with these large language models, you don't know where the hell they're getting this information. I mean, there's trillions of bits of information, and if you don't write a prompt very specific, then you're liable to get information that's not relevant to what you're looking for. Okay, we're out of time. I see we're out of time.
That's it for now, Lee.
That's it?
Yes.
All right.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much. And don't forget, I created PMP.